Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with health and wellness educator Maya Acosta. She is a respected leader in the plant-based community who promotes the benefits of whole food, plant-based lifestyles. As the co-leader of the Plant-Based DFW Pod in Dallas, she educates the community through various initiatives, including lectures, potlucks, documentary screenings, and walks with the dog. Maya's passion for health outreach began at her husband's vascular center, where she witnessed the impact of lifestyle changes on chronic disease prevention and management. She hosts the Healthy Lifestyle Solutions podcast, inviting experts in to talk about all of it. Enjoy this interview.
It's great to meet you. I appreciate you taking a minute out. And the first thing that I'd like to do before we get into your life as a health and wellness educator is talk about COVID, which I'm sure has really affected the way, your clientele and the way you do business. But I'm curious from you, how did you survive that 3-year period, and how has it changed the way that you live your life and do business now that the world's waking up?
I am a health and wellness educator, but I don't work directly with patients. My husband is the one that works directly with patients. I come in and I advise individuals on making healthier choices. And so I mainly do this. First, I started in my husband's vascular center. So by the time you become his patient, you pretty much have very advanced chronic disease. So I started there in terms of bringing information about what we know that can help people to prevent the conditions that they have. And so what we saw, though, because he is a vascular surgeon, he saw when people started to develop the blood clots in the legs, for example, as a result of having COVID exposure. And so while there was a point during those 3 years that we sort of thought we were going to lose the practice, because his practice, his vascular center, really does depend on patients coming in. They were really afraid in terms of coming in and having that exposure because they have all these underlying conditions that put them at risk for extreme complications had they had exposures to COVID. So it was a pretty difficult time to navigate. These individuals need procedures. These are not elective procedures. So whether it be that my husband is trying to save a leg or trying to clear a clogged artery that can put the individual at risk for a heart attack or another stroke, again, like I said, COVID really prevented individuals from doing the procedures that they so needed to stay alive. And then, we survived the whole economic crisis portion of it that came along with COVID, which means that a lot of individuals lost their practices. After surviving that, I found that my husband stayed pretty busy. It hasn't stopped since. People continue to get sick, and people continue to have complications as a result of those COVID exposures that they had. What I do on the other end is sort of work on the preventative end of things. And that got started as a result of me, knowing my husband. I've been with him for 10 years now. And I spent pretty much the first 3 years watching and learning what his patients were going through. And around that time, I came upon information that I felt the patients needed to know, which is there is power in food to prevent disease, but also we learned about lifestyle modifications, which means there's a college that trains health experts in this field. It's called the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. It trains physicians, nurses, nurse practitioners, and board certifies them in knowing how to talk to patients about food, exercise, stress management, having healthy relationships, getting adequate sleep, and moving away from those risky behaviors that put them in at risk in the first place. So combined with that, our understanding and training in lifestyle medicine is what got us involved in wanting to work on the preventative end so that people can take control of their health before they have conditions that can no longer be reversed.
So I'm curious, when you were younger growing up as a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, when I was a kid in the 70s, there weren't too many options for women. I don't know if you remember what life was like in the 70s. The role models on television were secretaries. You were lucky if you landed a nice secretarial job. I didn't have, I was very creative. I know that was something that as I moved out, even through high school, I loved painting. I loved sewing. I just I really wanted to go into graphic design, doing all sorts of layouts and digital work. And it was probably in high school when I decided, you know what, I should be a therapist. And I started kind of making plans to go towards that direction into psychology. That was also a result of having a counselor in high school who pulled me out of my classroom and put me in sort of like a group therapy setting because I had a lot of issues going on in my home. And having that support is what got me to graduate from high school and eventually go to college.
So are you happy with how everything's turned out based on what you were wanting to do with your life?
Yes. I had a lot of limitations. When I went to college, I didn't have the advantages that I wish I would have had. Once, like I said, when I was younger, I didn't have big dreams. And then once I was in college, my dreams became huge. And I wanted to, study psychology and get a PhD and maybe eventually do clinical work. I don't know. I just really was fascinated with understanding the human condition and why we are the way we are. And I wanted to specialize in that field, but I had a lot of limitations. One thing that I really never really share is that our family was a young immigrant family from Mexico early on, and I was illegal most of my life, and I didn't have the things that I needed to continue to, at the time, obtain my master's and my PhD. And so that halted a lot of my dreams. I had to go back to Mexico, put things in order to come back on a visa. That took many years of sacrifice and trying to do what was right legally. My parents didn't know what they were doing when they were younger. They brought 4 daughters, into America so that we could have, the dream, the American dream that everybody that migrates here wants to have. And things didn't turn out the way that I had hoped, but I have made the most of it. I put myself, once I got things in order, I put myself through graduate school while working full-time, and I have found things that give me a reason to wake up every morning. Like the ikigai, they say in Japan, it's what I live for today. I've always been in that helping field. I've always been in the field of wanting to help others in whatever capacity that I can. And so what I do today fuels me. I love the idea of helping people to live a healthier life.
Who's been a hero for you in your life?
Gosh, I don't have a specific hero, but if you ever watch me looking through documentaries or what I enjoy watching the most on Netflix or something like that, I love stories of people overcoming, difficult challenges in their lives, whether it be physical challenges, financial limitations, or just trauma that could have destroyed their lives. Those are the stories that inspire me. Those are the books that I read. I don't have a specific person right now that maybe because I have a lot of individuals that I feel inspire me. But I will say that very early on, most of the people that kept moving me along the way, that kept encouraging me were my teachers. And so those are when you have a teacher that believes in you, when your own parents have no idea like what your future will look like, or they don't have the education to support you, the teachers are there. They're the ones that role model. And so I would say that I credit most of my teachers, even through high school, the one that inspired me to be a psychologist, to go on to study psychologist. That's they have been tremendous. They have had tremendous impact in my life.
So if you can meet one person alive on the planet right now, who would it be?
I would want to just be a monk. I just wish, and it's something that I desire right now, is just to live a very calm life and not be so reactive and not be so impacted by the things that are happening in our world. I would just want to be in a place where all I'm doing is being present and helping to counterbalance some of the tensions that exist today. So just not that I would be hiding out as a monk, because I think that their energy and what they're creating with their work is helping to improve our life in the planet in some way.
So of all the things that you've accomplished and done in your life, what are you the proudest of?
I'm really proud that I'm a risk taker and that I'm courageous. I wouldn't have said that as I was going through some of my hardships, but I've been able to come through as an immigrant with all the limitations, with parents that, only had a sixth grade education. I've been able to have platforms where I'm speaking or sharing some of my knowledge. And I really appreciate that, that I've been able to enjoy reading and learning. Those are the things that really light up my life as well. And so, I'm really thankful. I in many ways, I feel like I parented myself because my parents just had a lot of limitations. And that I've been able to overcome all those challenges and still at my age, still feel like there's so much more to come.
So the key here, talking about overcoming things, is that, that's the thing that gives us wisdom in life. Let's say you have a dream tonight, run into like the 20-year-old version of yourself, and you could give your young version a piece of advice based on the life you've lived, the wisdom you've gained. What would you tell your young version?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. I love that. I often try to do that in guided meditation. I wish I could go back, and just be right next to my younger self and hold her hand and tell her everything's going to be okay. It'll feel like a roller coaster. You're going to have some extreme ups and some extreme downs. And at the end, you are going to love the life that you've been living, despite all of those peaks and lows. It has felt like a roller coaster in many ways, but I would just mainly advise her to remain calm and grounded. Those are the key things, so that we're, because sometimes emotions can make us feel like things are really, really out of control.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, your family, your friends, clients, colleagues, but ultimately you live your life. You have a perception of yourself. Who do you think you are?
I really feel for many years I have felt like I'm just a soul who chose to come on this earth to have this experience. And I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. And as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that I could have just enjoyed life a little bit more, relaxed a little bit more. Who I think I am is an individual who's very introverted. In many ways, I'm shy, but I consider myself an empath. So I feel like I'm here to serve a purpose, to support other people who want that support. So like I feel that I pick up on people's energies. I sometimes pick up on their pain. And I just want to be here to help heal as I'm healing myself. So in many ways, like what I've endured, I feel has made me more compassionate for other people who go through pain, who are experiencing pain.
Yeah, I live with 3 generations of women. My wife's mother and then her daughter, who's 17, they're all empaths. So I know what that is.
Yeah.
So I am outdone by the estrogen and the intellectual emotion in the house. So I got it.
Yes.
So anyone out there that wants to learn more about you, what you do, anything involving your world, where is the best place on the web for them to go?
Yeah, it's really my website that hosts my episodes. And I'm creating another website or reinventing the other website that I have. It's all under healthylifestylesolutions.org. And you just talked about being around a lot of women, and I've been around, mainly women in my life. And so my podcast is geared more towards supporting women. Anybody can listen to it, but I do talk about mental health and other issues that women struggle with. And so I bring on the health experts to advise us on what are the healthy choices and approaches that we can do or take. And so, healthylifestylesolutions.org is the best place.
Wonderful. Maya, thank you for opening up, giving me your story. I really appreciate it. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and health from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. Find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.